What's going on, Bills Mafia? I'm Fernando Schmude, that's your leading the charge. Today I'm here to talk about the Bills offense, to talk about the pass catching group and some projections I've made thinking about this group going forward and what we can expect from this, especially from this passing offense without Stephon Diggs in the fold anymore. So, welcome to the Leading the Charge. Feel free to hit that like button, to subscribe to my canal do Fernando Schmude, so you can help me out to continue producing content for all Bills Mafia all over the world, but also in Portuguese to Latin America and Brazil in special. So, without further ado, let's get it going. Let's talk some Bills. Feel free to interact via chat as well. Right, Bruno is already here with, and feel free also, Bills Mafia, to use the super chat too. So if you can and if you wanna contribute to my work here in Brazil, and the super chat too is available, and you can, any amount helps me a lot to continue producing content to all the Bills Mafia in America, in Brazil, all over the world. So without further ado, let's get it going. So recently I've been tweeting around, and I tweeted a couple of weeks ago, actually, right? Let me even zoom it in a little bit so you can see it better. But I tweeted a projection, a target projection, right? Without Stephon Diggs in the fold anymore, it's obviously a lot of targets available to go all around. And I made a projection with the same amount of passes from last season, 179 passes thrown in 23. And I did this quick projection, just thinking out loud on Twitter about the target share. All right. And it drew some attention. Some people commented, even Matt Parino, shout out to Matt, commented here and made some good points. And I've been thinking about it recently and about this new Bills pass catching group, not just the wide receiver room, as a lot of people have been worried about and asked about how good is this wide receiver room. Maybe if it's bottom of the league, I think this is a conversation that doesn't make too much sense for me. I really believe you gotta analyze all the passing offense, and you can't take away the tight ends, you can't take away the running backs in the passing game. After all, last season, Kansas City room, wide receiver room wasn't that impressive, but they had Travis Kelce out there, a Hall of Famer tight end, and when mattered the most, Travis Kelce was himself and led the way in the playoffs, right? And their wide receiver group just had to be a complementary group. Rashee Rice had a nice production, obviously, and led the way. But the other guys made plays when it mattered the most. And that's what really hurt a lot, because when Patrick Mahomes needed a play against the Bills, Valdes-Scantling made that play for him. And when Josh Allen needed his best pass catcher to make a play for him, unfortunately, it didn't happen. So all of that made me question how important really was all that star production during regular season. Yes, it's important to get you into the playoffs, but if you analyze Stephon Diggs' production during all those playoffs, during recent seasons, recent years, it hasn't been that impressive. And is it really that difficult for the Bills to replace that production? Time will tell. But I'm looking forward to watching this offense next season. I'm looking forward to watch Josh not needing to deal with Diggs every single time on the sidelines, asking for the ball, making sure everybody were noticing that he wanted the ball badly. And even when Josh was out there sitting on the sidelines analyzing the tablet and the plays, Diggs consistently came there to say something, to give his input. So I'm not out there saying, oh, it's always negative. But going forward, Josh clearly is the leader of this offense, unquestioned leader, right? One of the most experienced players in this offense. He doesn't have that big bro alongside him anymore. So it takes away some of the a guy that took away some of the pressure from Josh, but also put a lot of pressure on Josh to feed him the ball. So I think there are two sides in this situation, and I think Josh can benefit of the good sides, the positives out of this situation without Stephon Diggs on the fold. And now on, Josh is the leader. Josh is the main guy in this offense. He has in Dalton Kincaid a go-to guy, a new go-to guy. Maybe I really believe the Bills will try to establish Kincaid as their go-to guy, as a possession target, a guy to move the chains consistently, a guy to do for Josh what Kelsey does for Mahomes. And yes, we need to pump on the brakes a little bit and wait and see. We can't put so much pressure on Kincaid, but at the same time, I feel like people are underestimating the impact that Shakir, the impact that Samuel, especially a guy that has had some success with Joe Brady as his coordinator, a guy that was also a high draft pick, a guy that has also a lot of athletic ability and a lot of great tools to work with in this offense. I think people are underestimating the impact this guy can make in this offense. Same thing with Khalil Shakir, who's been trending up since he got on the field for the first time. If we're being honest, he finished his first season playing really well in the playoffs for the Bills. And then last season, he had to compete with Hardy. He had to compete with Sherfield. A lot of people even questioned if Shakir would make the team at some points during the preseason last year. But the guy kept working hard, kept building that chemistry with Josh, and we could see it paying out later in the year, right? We could see during the playoffs Shakir being very comfortable being the guy for Josh, and Josh trusting him big time when he needed the most during the playoffs. That touchdown against the Chiefs was a thing of beauty in the corner of the end zone. The timing, Josh escaping the pocket, Shakir coming back for the ball, making the catch near the sideline. So a great catch by Shakir that really shows us how far he's been, how far he's got since becoming a Bill, coming in the 5th round of the draft. So I really believe the Bills have some potential, and it's dangerous to deal with potential, but it's not like we are betting on things that we haven't seen. All right. Yes, you expect the guys to continue to trend up, to continue to get better, to continue to develop. It's not always guaranteed. It doesn't happen always smoothly as we would like. But the Bills aren't betting all their hopes only on one guy, right? I already talked about Kincaid a little bit, about Samuel joining the team, and Shakir. So we have already 3 guys that the team are hoping they can, and it's not necessarily all 3 of them gotta make a great jump, all right? But if one of them makes a great jump, it should be already enough, all right? And even if none of them can make a great jump, but all of them can improve a little bit, if Samuel can be just the guy he was for Brady a few years ago, if Shakir can continue to play at the same level, but now with more opportunities, because Shakir didn't start to get all those opportunities until Brady became the offensive coordinator. And when he got the opportunity, he took advantage of it. He had Gabe Davis ahead of him, taking a lot of snaps, taking a lot of targets out of him. So he had Hardy, he had Sherfield all in contention. So It took some time until Shakir could establish himself as the guy in the slot, as a guy that Allen could trust. It happened during the season, all right? And now I can see the Bills really trusting him from the get-go to be this guy for Josh. So with those three guys, Kincaid, Shakir, and Samuel, I think it's fair to believe the Bills have a solid base in the passing game. They don't have a superstar yet in this group, but they have three professionals that have played really well, and two of them at least with a great potential, right? And so I can see it really working well, and I really don't see all the reason to panic. Like Bills Mafia is panicking a lot, and I understand the doubts. I understand being worried about losing a superstar player in Diggs, who unfortunately hasn't played like a superstar recently. And let's be honest, all right? Because people are always like, oh, Diggs draw all the attention in the world his way, right? Yes, no doubt other teams had him as the top target for Josh and the guy to take away from the game plan and to make other people beat them, right? But that has been what really has happened since Brady took over the job. Since Brady took over the job, Kincaid is the top pass catcher for Josh Allen. Shakir is the second one, and then Stephon Diggs. So yeah, he was important, being maybe the guy that everybody drew the attention to and opened up to Kincaid and to Shakir, so they were able to produce. But let's remember, there was a time where there were people talking about, look, we aren't even doubling Diggs, right? And people are saying about all the double teams going his way. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Snead from the Chiefs that said we weren't doubling him at all, right? So I won't say everybody dealt with Diggs the same way they would deal with Shakir or Samuel, but it's kind of overrated in my opinion, and everything needs to draw their attention, their coverage attention, the to highlight a guy and try to stop that guy. And with the group the Bills have right now, it's not so easy to do so. Are they gonna draw all the attention to Kincaid and let Shakir, let Samuel, who has speed, let the rookie Coleman that I mentioned for the first time right now, but is another wild card in this group and with a lot of potential, a lot of big playability that we didn't have in the past, a guy for contested catches, a guy that can beat you deep, not with speed. And he has nice playing speed. Don't be fooled by that 40-yard dash, right? But a guy that can go long. And are you sure you're going to let your small corner one-on-one with that guy downfield? Are you sure with a quarterback with the arm Josh Allen has? I'm not so sure I'd be comfortable with that. And I don't believe the great defensive coordinators in NFL will be fine with it, especially from the moment Coleman makes one of those contested catches over a cornerback, a smaller cornerback. They every time Coleman goes deep, they're gonna send a help his way, send a safety to help that way, because that's a guy that can overpower any cornerback in the league for a contested catch in a big play. So Coleman can be this deep threat sometimes on with his tools, his way. Samuel has speed to burn. He hasn't been a top-notch deep threat in the NFL. That hasn't been the way he's been effective playing in NFL. But just like Hardy really wasn't as well, but he was sent deep sometimes. No doubt the Bills and Brady can send Samuel deep and use his speed downfield and allow Josh to throw some bombs his way and see what happens. That's a guy that can take the top of the defense, has the speed to do so, is experienced in the league, and I see no reason to not use him. sometimes like this. And even Khalil Shakir, if we're being honest, Shakir isn't slower than Gabe Davis, and Gabe Davis has been our main deep threat in the last couple of seasons. So the Bills have their top three wide receivers, they have some guys that can go deep, no doubt about it. Is that their specialty? No, it isn't. But all those guys have their own tools. All those guys have their own games, and they can be used like this. And they offer something when they go deep and become a deep threat. They offer a way of beating those cornerbacks did. It can be with Samuel speed. It can be with Coleman size. It can be with Shakir getting better and better with his route running. His speed is also good. People sometimes they kind of overlook Shakir's speed, and he's punishing people after catch with that, or even running some posts like we saw against the Jets. So the Bills have balance. They have a well balanced group now, right? And even comparing to last season group when I was out there this time of the season when nobody was, I kind of, I don't know if I'm a crazy guy or whatever, but when everybody was fine with the Bills wide receiver group, I was very worried last season because the Bills had Diggs and they didn't have much more after him. They had Gabe, and I never understood people uh, being sold on Gabe last season because Gabe wasn't consistently wide receiver two material. He wasn't. He had his great moments, especially the 13 seconds game, but we never could consistently trust Gabe. And if you look at Josh's interceptions, most of them were thrown Gabe's direction. And he dropped some passes, he didn't fight for some passes, and he let Josh down on several of those passes. So when your biggest wide receiver, when your best deep threat wide receiver is so unreliable like Gabe was, I can't really be surprised by some of the interceptions Josh thrown and by the lack of success from the Bills offense downfield. So looking at today's group, yeah, we don't have the superstar in Stephon Diggs, a guy that, if we're being honest, hasn't been a superstar for us in the playoffs and hasn't been a superstar for us since Brady took over, right? Does he still have the potential, or does he still have the ability to be a superstar? I believe he does. I believe he still has gas in the tank. But I really believe it became pretty clear that Brady wouldn't change his offense or cost the Bills' offense anything to make Diggs happy and to feed Diggs all the time. Remember, Diggs was playing great under Dorsey, but we couldn't get wins, and it wasn't all on Diggs. It wasn't all on the offense. The defense had a lot of blunders during that time as well, but we simply weren't winning. And when things changed under Brady and we started to run the ball more, we started to try to distribute the ball more. Josh started to play the game as he's supposed to do as the quarterback, making the right reads, going with the ball in the right directions, exploring mismatches, right? Not force feeding Diggs. We started to win games. So it goes together. All those things goes together, and we can't simply decline and refuse to look at it, right? So looking at this, I checked some Bills numbers and the targets in the last few years, and it happened that the 579 passes that I had in that twitch that I just showed you, they were the wrong numbers because it didn't, and the passes Josh didn't target anybody. He threw out of bounds or were batted down. So it happened as well. So the Bills had actually, and I have Pro Football Reference open here. The Bills had 545 targets last season. 160 of them were Diggs direction. All right. And then plus 81 to Gabe Davis. Those are guys that aren't on the roster anymore. And then we had Latavius Murray with 22, Trent Sherfield with 22, Deontay Hardy 21. So those are the targets that are available for the Bills offense going forward. But with all those 579 passes and 545 targets, I really don't believe the Bills are throw the ball that much this season. Without Diggs and without a true number one established, maybe we finish the season with a guy established like this. Can be Kincaid, can be Shakir, can be Samuel, Coleman at the end of the year. Who knows? But right now we don't have an established number one guy. So I'm not expecting the Bills to be that pass happy as we've seen recently. All right, especially under Dable and then Dorsey. With Brady, it has changed. Since Brady took over, the Bills has been the second team that run the ball the most in the league, and it's not because he decided to become a run-first team, but we know how defenses defend the Bills with all those true safeties high, those shells, right? And with true safeties high and loud boxes. So I feel like it's really smart, and I totally understand Brady trying to punish opposing defenses running the ball well in those situations. It's a must in those situations. And I remember when the offense was at its best, in my opinion, during the 13-second season, during the perfect game against the Patriots, that team was very much pass happy. And even against light boxes and two safeties deep, the Bills couldn't run the ball efficiently without Josh being the runner. So it changed under Brady, and we could see our offensive line playing better, getting better at the running game, playing with that kind of nasty offensive line, punishing smaller opponents. And I'm expecting it to continue next season. And I'm expecting also the Bills continue to try to run the ball and punish teams that refuse to put their base defense on the field, refuse to getting bigger on the field. The Cowboys game just comes to my mind when the Cowboys played an extremely small defense with safeties at linebacker spots, smaller defensive linemen, and the Bills run the ball over and over and really punished the Cowboys for lining up a fast, small D. So it's been the trend in the NFL. It's been the trend about the offense, how they are adjusting to beat those smaller, quick defenses, right? We saw even the Chiefs lining up a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets against us in the playoffs and punishing the Bills' nickel defense with that. So the Bills are going to try to do the same thing. And one guy that people are overlooking a lot right now is Dawson Knox. He's going to continue to be an important piece in this offense. The Bills probably are going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets with Kincaid and Knox, right? Knox hasn't played well recently, has dropped some passes, hasn't been a consistent piece, but he can play better than he did last season, especially if he can stay healthy. And he's a nice weapon on some checkdowns with his yards after catch ability. He's a strong, powerful runner after catch. He can break some tackles, and he's a nice weapon in the red zone as well, a weapon that Josh trusts. So I'm expecting Dawson Knox to be a contributor this season and to have a big role in this offense as well. So I already mentioned a lot of guys in Kincaid, Knox, the 3 main wide receivers. We already mentioned 5 important pieces in the pass catching group and in the passing game. And I haven't even mentioned James Cook, the running back that has gotten better and became a Pro Bowler last season. The guy is a mismatch. The guy's no linebacker can cover Cook coming out of the backfield, and unfortunately he's had some drops as well. But I really want to believe he's worked hard on his hands this offseason, and that's something I'm expecting and anxiously expecting to watch during the training camps, during the preparation, if Cook can become more consistent with his hands, because he gets the separation, he's a mismatch, he's extremely dangerous coming out of the backfield to receive passes. If he could improve his pass protection ability to stay more on the field, and if he can cut off those awful drops, he's gonna be a weapon out of the backfield as well, and another one that the Bills can use in the passing game. So that's the cat and mouse game, guys, that I'm expecting to see with the Bills offense next season. Defenses, are they gonna continue to drop down, line up with two safeties high, smaller guys at the linebacker spots, nickel defenses? Are they gonna line up like this and allow the Bills, with all this diversity in their pass catching group, to run the ball and to receive short passes and gain yards after catch? It was obviously something that the Bills really wanted to do, to add more guys capable of receive the passes and gain yards after catch. Are opposing defenses giving the Bills those opportunities next season? I feel like this offense is really prepared to explore them with a good run game, with some nice running backs being able to receive passes, swing passes, check downs, and gain yards after catch. Davis, who was just drafted, is dangerous in this situation, and he'll be a part of a committee with Cook, with Ty Johnson, who also can do that. So the Bills have the running backs to punish defenses like this, punish defenses doing this. And the Bills have in their top three, especially Samuel, Shakir, and Coleman, all three guys can do it all. And all three guys can be dangerous with the ball in their hands and with yards after catch. So our defense is really respecting and being afraid of the shots downfield and giving the Bills these short intermediate areas to work with. I feel like Josh showed in the playoffs he's willing to be patient and to punish opposing defenses, simply going with short passes and giving his guys opportunities to gain yards after catch. So and if the defenses try to change their approach and just let one safety hide, bring another safety to the box, play their base defense to stop the run, to stop the short gains, are they really willing to be a little bit more exposed to the deep shots and to deep passing game that the Bills can implement? Because Josh's arm is still the powerful arm in the league, and just like I said before, are you allowing Coleman to go one-on-one downfield against your small cornerback? Man, I wouldn't be comfortable with that. I trust Coleman to win on those situations. Are you really not respecting Samuel's speed downfield? I think it's a mistake. And don't forget some of the guys down in the depth chart, right? Because KJ Hamler was mentioned by Coleman in one of his coming in interviews as a guy that can stretch the field, add speed to this Bills pass catching group. So Hamler hasn't been an impact player in 2 years. He's struggled to stay healthy and to impact games. But when healthy, that's a speedster. That's a guy that can go downfield. That's a guy that can make some big plays there, right? Is he going to be part of the 53? Is he going to be part of the practice squad? I don't know, but this guy has some tools to work with. Chase Claypool, he's trying to revive his career. That's a guy that also has experience going downfield. He has the speed, he has the size to be a mismatch against smaller cornerbacks as well. So even Andy Isabella, now entering the second year with the Bills, all those guys have speed. So the Bills have a lot of different wide receivers in their group now. Justin Shorter, a former fifth-round pick, we haven't seen him yet. And despite a lot of people writing him off, I have no doubts in my mind that being would never write off one of his draft picks. A fifth round pick? No way. He will give him an opportunity to show his ability. So the preseason is going to be exciting for this pass catching group because they have all those pass catchers in different size, in different tools, different speeds, different traits. So I'm really looking forward to Josh Allen working with those guys and to see what or which of those guys are going to step up and become the favorite targets for QB1. Bills Mafia, hit that like button, subscribe to my own channel, support my job now on my own, right? On my Fernando Schmude channel. But soon I will have some news for you as well. So I count on you to support me, help me out to continue producing the Leading the Charge every Friday at 1 p.m. East, right? And every Sunday at 6:30 East, 6:30 p.m. East in Portuguese, right? Oh, but Fernando, I can't understand anything you're talking in Portuguese. There is the tool in YouTube where you can go to subtitles and you can activate auto translation and you don't miss a bit about the content made in Portuguese. So I invite you to try it out. And at the same time, Bills Mafia in Brazil, who can't deal with English, can do it and translate my English content to Portuguese. So I talked a lot about how I see this group, but let's go to my projections because I showed you my initial projections on my tweet from a couple of weeks ago, right? And it just wasn't really correct with the 579 passes thrown by Josh in 23. It was actually 545 targets, and so those numbers don't apply. But then I started to check Football Outsiders. I started to check previous years, not just last season, but also the last time Josh didn't have Stephon Diggs to throw the ball, right? Too, and he had John Brown and he had Cole Beasley, and the Bills threw the ball less. So for this exercise today, I projected for next season 520 targets to be distributed, all right, among the Bills pass catching group instead of 245 from a season ago. I really believe the Bills will run the ball more this season than the last season overall, right? We had Dorsey for half a year. I feel like Brady isn't a run-first coordinator, but just like I explained before, I feel like the Bills are trying to take opposing defense out of that game plan of let's cover deep downfield, let's force Josh to be patient, and he won't be able to stay patient all game long, and he's going to force the ball downfield, and we're going to intercept him. That has been the game plans against the Bills. People hasn't respected the Bills run game, but it started to change with Brady as the offensive coordinator, and I'm really trusting it's going to continue to change next season, and the Bills should start the year with one of the best run games in the league, in my opinion, because of the combination of defenses being afraid of Josh throwing the ball, and also the Bills backfield getting better, the Bills offensive line. They lost Morse, yeah, but we got some youth. Edwards is a guy that Cromer loves, right? So I really believe our offensive line will be able to be very physical again and establish that run game. So with that said, I believe 520 targets are out there to be shared among the pass catching group. And my projections for next season are I have leading the way with 105 targets. Dalton Kincaid, the tight end, second-year tight end, 105 targets going his way, a number that went up from 91 targets last season. Remember, Diggs had 160, and then Kincaid 91, the second highest number. Without Diggs drawing all those targets, Kincaid now is the leader with 105, a jump from 91, but maybe not a big jump as some people expect, because I really believe the Bills, yeah, they will have Kincaid as the main go-to guy early on, and with Josh being already on the same page with the tight end. But I feel like the Bills can really give Josh the condition to make the right reads, share the ball, spread the ball all over the field to all his pass catching guys. So 105 targets to Dalton Kincaid. He's gonna lead the Bills, in my opinion. And with his 105 targets, I have a projection for Kincaid of 82 receptions, 850 yards, and 8 touchdowns. All right. Um, he had only 2 touchdowns last season, but without Diggs, I feel like that's the year Kincaid can have. If the Bills start to send Kincaid more downfield, and it's a possibility, right? Because he was a big time threat down the seams in college, but the Bills really hasn't used him like this yet. If the Bills do so, he has a shot at going over 1,000 yards. But the way the Bills has used him, I have this projection of 105 targets, 82 receptions, 150 yards, and 8 touchdowns for Kincaid. The second pass catching leader for the Bills, 95 targets, Khalil Shakir. I have Khalil Shakir over Curtis Samuel. It's pretty debatable, all right, because Samuel he's a pro, he's a veteran, he's experienced, and he can become Josh's favorite target. But just for being a free agent and coming in, Josh is already on the same page with Shakir. We've seen Shakir's snaps increasing, catches increasing, targets increasing, production in general increasing, and even on embedded, we've seen the Bills showcasing and having 2 guys as faces of both sides of the ball, with Bernard on defense, a guy that I really believe will be a team captain this season and for a long time in the Bills defense, and Shakir on the offense. So I really feel Shakir is the guy that's going to benefit the most of all those targets that went to previously to Diggs. And I really believe Shakir is the guy they're counting on to be Stephon Diggs' replacement early on. Not to be a superstar like Stephon Diggs, not to be a pro bowler, an all-pro, and go over 1,000 yards, but with Kincaid getting more targets, more attention, the second guy in my projection is Shakir. 95 targets, 78 receptions, 950 yards, 4 touchdowns. I don't have any of the pass catching guys going over 1,000 yards this year. We've been spoiled with Diggs going over 1,000 yards every year. But remember, before Stephon Diggs, Stevie Johnson was the first Bills wide receiver to be able to go over 1,000 yards on back-to-back seasons, right? Even Eric Moulds, who had several 1,000 yards, he wasn't able to do so on back-to-back seasons. So it's not like it's that easy. Obviously, Josh gives you an opportunity to that. But with the way this pass catching group is set right now and all the possibilities, I really feel he will distribute this ball and we'll have a lot of guys producing well, but neither of them going 1,000 yards. I have 4 guys going over 700 yards this season, right? So Shakir is the second one, 78 receptions, 950 yards, 4 touchdowns in my projection. The third Bills guy here, complementing the top 2, Curtis Samuel, the free agent guy, has experience with Brady. He was a 1,000-yard wide receiver under Brady with the Panthers. And between him and Shakir, it's totally possible to swap them in those numbers. But my projection for Samuel is 80 targets, 15 targets less than Shakir. Shakir had 10 targets less than Kincaid. So Samuel with 80 targets, 70 receptions, 700 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The average, more or less. All right. I just checked Samuel's stats on the other teams. He's consistently being a 10 yard per catch wide receiver. Maybe he gets more opportunities downfield, taking advantage of all those targets that went to Gabe Davis. But I feel he will get a lot of opportunities as the jet motion guy, receiving screen passes, even lining up in the backfield like Diggs did sometimes last season. So, and getting even some rushing attempts. So I feel like that's a good projection for Samuel. 80 targets, 70 receptions, 700 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The fourth top wide receiver, it's actually a tie, all right, between Keon Coleman and James Cook. A tie in yards, in targets, 70 targets each to Keon Coleman and to James Cook. James Cook had just let me check real quick. James Cook had 54 targets last season. All right. I can see this number going up to 70. He's a Pro Bowler now. I feel like the Bills will try to get him going in the run game. The Bills will try to keep him on the field a lot and try to use him as a mismatch out of the backfield. So I can see his targets going up to 70. And my projection for him, despite the 70 targets, is to have less yards than Coleman, but more receptions. So for Cook, I have 70 targets, 60 receptions, around 600 yards, and 4 touchdowns for James Cook. Keon Coleman, I have the same 70 targets, but 48 receptions, 720 yards, and 7 touchdowns. So you can see that Coleman doesn't have as many catches as the other guys I mentioned so far. He's behind Kincaid, Shakir, Samuel, and Cook in number of receptions, because I really believe the Bills will send him deep. I really believe the Bills will try to use him. The Bills will try to use a lot of guys, but I feel like Coleman is the guy that will be used more like Gabe Davis was used, going downfield, using his size to be a mismatch, and using his good hands to avoid all those drops that we saw happening with Gabe Davis. So I really believe Coleman will be this guy. And Coleman, I have 70 targets, but 48 receptions, 720 yards, and 7 touchdowns. In the red zone, he's going to be a mismatch. It's going to be tough for defenses to deal with Coleman, Kincaid, Knox, all that size, right? So those are the top 5 guys here in my pass catching group. And complementing them, I have Dawson Knox with 45 targets, 30 receptions, 280 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the ship has sailed for Knox. He's not gonna take away any snaps from Kincaid anymore, but he can be a nice complementary piece. He can be a check down guy. He can get some yards after catch, and especially in the red zone, he's a reliable target for Josh there, a guy that Josh trusts. So I can see he getting his 30 receptions out of 45 targets, 280 yards, and 2 touchdowns in his role. And then I have 30 targets for Ty Johnson and Cam Davis, the rookie Davis, the running back. I have 30 targets going between the two. I'm not extremely confident Davis has already passed Ty Johnson on the depth chart. I feel like Ty Johnson played really well in his role last season, and I believe all 3 of them will start the year getting touches. And obviously, as the season progresses, we'll see the hot hand taking more snaps, right? But I have 30 targets for the pair of backup running backs. 15 targets going to Mac Hollins, a guy that will be on the field, especially early with Coleman as a rookie. I can see Hollins seeing the field a little bit more early in the year and having a role as a nice blocking wide receiver, a guy to help the Bills to establish that run game that will be so important for this offense early on, to force defenses to change their approaches when defending the Bills. So Mac Hollins with 15 targets, and then other guys. Other guys can be the third tight end, can be one of the other wide receivers, KJ Rambler, Isabella, Claypool. We don't know who's going to step up, but 15 targets going to other guys. So with all those numbers, it closed 525 targets going around, okay, and 4,100 yards here, okay, a little bit less than what Josh threw last season, but the 4,100 yards that I have here is just the numbers I mentioned to you. It's not counting on the yards Ty Johnson, Davis, Hollins, and others. So those other 60 receptions available to Ty, to Davis, to Hollins, and to others will add yards in these numbers. So I feel like it's a fair number to expect from this offense. I'm curious to see them on the field doing their job. I'm curious to see those guys playing their roles. Nobody's gonna be asked to be a superstar like Diggs was at his best. Do your job situation to all of them, right? And I can see they having success doing their job well done. So with Kincaid being the main guy, go-to guy, possession guy, threatening sometimes defenses down the seams, but being the guy that can find spaces against zones and punishing people after catch. Shakir being moved around, trying to replace what Stephon Diggs gave us last season and making plays inside and out. Curtis Samuel being a guy to use his speed downfield, but also being a guy to beat man coverage with those deep crosses that we've struggled to connect since Isaiah McKenzie left. When the Bills had Isaiah McKenzie, he wasn't a great slot receiver up to the point to replace Cole Beasley. That was what we wanted to from him, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But anytime Josh faced man coverage with Kincaid in the slot, those deep crosses was a money shot for Josh, where McKenzie could simply run away from people across the field and make those catches. Curtis Samuel has experience doing running this type of routes and even selling this type of routes and then coming back and running some corner routes. So Samuel will be very important against man coverage, especially when lining up in the slot and running those deep crosses and those corners where he can fake the deep cross and come back for a corner route. Keon Coleman with his size, trying to be a punish guy after catches, receiving some screens and transitioning some slants and transitioning quickly into a runner after the catch. That's one of his strengths, to not lose a step, to not lose any speed when transitioning from pass catcher to runner. So he'll be able to run those slants, he receives some screens and run after catch, but also I can see him going downfield, making some contested catches. And when people start to be afraid of him downfield, he can run those comeback, those curl routes that we used to see Gabe Davis running, showing his numbers to Josh and being a nice possession type of guy, making the catches with better hands than Davis showed during his time in Buffalo. So I can see all of them playing their roles efficiently and being successful. And if it happens, no doubt we're going to start to tell that Kincaid is a new star, Shakir is a new star, maybe even Coleman, who knows. So I'm really anxious, really curious to see those guys. And I didn't even mention James Cook, that out of the backfield, he's gonna have a lot of touches to run the ball, but now I can see him getting even more touches receiving passes, and the sky's the limit for Cook if he can limit his drops and take advantage of all those opportunities. This offense can be dangerous. Don't forget it. Don't fall into the trap of believing that Stephon Diggs was the game changer in this offense. Stephon Diggs was really important, but the game changer in this offense is Josh Allen. And without Stephon Diggs wanting all the attention and all the targets and in throwing all that drama in the sidelines, I feel like Josh can play even better. And I really it wouldn't surprise me to finally see Josh Allen to win an MVP playing with this group, a group that has all kind of tools at his disposal, and he can simply take advantage of mismatches that will appear during the season with defenses picking their poison against them. So looking forward to that. I know a lot of people aren't as high on this offense as I am, and I know a lot of things can go wrong, right? We can deal with injuries, we can deal with guys not taking the next step, but I really feel that Bean is right on trying to go this route, because if it works, the Bills have solved their cap situation going forward and will be able to invest some money next season, not necessarily in the passing, in the pass catching group in a wide receiver, and not necessarily. The Bills will have some money to work with in their offensive line, in their with their defense, pass rushers, improve the team. So if this plan goes right, Bean just has saved the cap situation and got rid of an albatross contract in Stephon Diggs. If it goes wrong, and a lot of people are thinking, it's not going to work, will need a number one wide receiver. We know that during the season things change, right? And if the Bills can deal with this tough schedule and contend even without a number one, and they feel like they gotta bring a guy because Claypool didn't revive his career, Coleman is too green and couldn't have an impact early on, Samuel is done because he didn't work out with Josh, and he's what he is. Shakir didn't take a step forward. Kincaid didn't take a step forward. Cook continues to drop some passes. Everything went wrong. We know that the Bills can still trade for a guy, right? And with the season happening, going on, we know a lot of guys will be available. And the Bills have the amount, they have the ammo, right? They have the picks next year to search for a nice trade, to take advantage of an opportunity and add a number one wide receiver if Bean, if Josh, if Brady, they feel like they really need one. So I really think it's totally fine, and it's a nice plan by Bean to try it out with his young group of pass catchers right now to see if the guys really take advantage of those opportunities and establish themselves as the number one, the number two, the number three option for Josh, and show the world, show Bills Mafia, show Josh, show Bean, Brady. Look, you don't need anybody else. You have your group here. You have whatever you need. You need size, you have the size guys. You need speed, you have the speedy guys, right? You need separation, you have the guys that can run routes. So I feel like the guys have an opportunity to show it the world. And I feel like they have the potential, they have the ability to take advantage of those opportunities. So looking forward to preseason, to camps, rookie mini camp starting today, OTAs going on soon as well. We'll be able to see those guys on the field. The hype will be built, obviously. In preseason, we will start to see, but the real thing, regular season, that's where we will have our answers. And I'm confident we will have good answers. I'm confident we'll see an offense that will be balanced, that will be able to run the ball. And being able to run the ball, those guys will be able to shine in their own roles. What do you think, Bills Mafia? Let me know in the comment section. Don't go away without hitting that like button, subscribing to my Fernando Schmude channel, helping me out. You can always send a Go Bills via Super Chat and support my work here on my own channel. That's it for today. The Leading the Charge of this Friday is done. I really appreciate you taking your time joining me today. I'll be back on Sunday with the Leading the Charge in Portuguese. This Sunday it will be a little bit earlier because of it's Mother's Day in Brazil, so I have an appointment with my mom. Can't be late for that, right? But there will be a Leading the Charge this Sunday in Portuguese. So all of you Bills Mafia outside America, Portuguese speaking Bills Mafia, and even American Bills Mafia, you can click on auto translate and follow it up. So really appreciate you. Let me know your opinion. Am I being too confident in this offense? Are you too worried? Could I change your mind a little bit? How about the numbers? Do you agree that Kincaid is going to be the leader in targets and receptions? Do you agree that Shakir is going to lead the team in yards? How about touchdowns? I had Kincaid, right? So let me know your opinion about those numbers and your own predictions or your own projections for the Bills going forward. Thank you so much, Bills Mafia. Have a great weekend, and I will be back on Sunday. See you around. Go Bills.